Growing up, you hear a lot of music without knowing who wrote it, like this morbid Marche to the Scaffold from a Looney Tunes episode. It's actually the same theme that's played whenever you got checkmated in the game Chess Master for original Nintendo. Where have I heard that tune before, you asked? In the movie Beetlejuice, there's a ghost named Juno who does casework for the deceased. In one scene, her alarm goes off and there's the tune again.
Oh, I've got to go.
You probably didn't notice at that time, but it was stored somewhere in your subconscious. Then, when you were a little older, your dad rented an episode of Monty Python's Flying Circus from Blockbuster Video that featured a scene where a casket is being carried down the road by a group of pallbearers. By then, the earworm had been permanently lodged in your head. "Hey, it's that funeral song again," you exclaimed. And though you probably weren't there, this march was even played at the funerals of world leaders ranging from John F. Kennedy to Joseph Stalin. And a century before that, the piece was performed in Paris at the burial of its composer, Frédéric Chopin. Now, what you wouldn't have gathered from these 20th century pop culture appropriations of Chopin's morbid theme is that it serves as the outer section to a longer piece, which is itself the third movement of a four-movement piano sonata. It's a work that defied convention at the time and puzzled the German gatekeepers of sonata form. Felix Mendelssohn abhorred the piece, while Robert Schumann referred to the movements as four of Chopin's most unruly children. And indeed, few pieces of music break as many rules as the finale, a supernatural, quasi-atonal unison finger study that flies out of the grave dug in the third movement. Musicians have long resorted to imagery in making sense of this final movement. Anton Rubinstein famously heard wind howling over gravestones. The piece is often said to be ahead of its time, which does make sense if you think it takes place in the afterlife. And while the sonata remains an enigma to pianists and listeners to this day, it never fails to make a rubbernecker like me stop what I'm doing and listen. Welcome to the Chopin Podcast. I'm your host, Ben Laude, and over the course of this series, we're diving deep into the music of Frédéric Chopin, with episodes on each of his major compositional genres. This is Season 2, Episode 5, Sonatas. In this episode, I meet Garrick Ohlsson in his home to explore Chopin's multi-movement masterpieces at the piano. Then I'm joined by a pair of recent medalists from the International Chopin Competition. 2010 gold medalist and Sonata Prize winner Yuliana Avdieva returns to the podcast to react to her own performances of the second and third sonatas. Then 2021 bronze medalist Martín García stops by to share his feelings about Chopin's youthful and lesser-known first sonata. Then we welcome back musicologist Jeffrey Kahlberg, who has some provocative questions to ask about Chopin's so-called funeral march. And finally, Jed Distler recommends some of the finest recordings of all three Chopin sonatas made over the past century. You can listen to full episodes of the Chopin podcast on podcasting platforms the day of release, or watch video segments from each episode in the following days as they're posted to my YouTube channel. Just look up my name, Ben Laude. That's Benlaude. This podcast is produced in partnership with the Chopin Foundation of the United States, presenters of the National Chopin Competition in Miami, Florida, every 5 years. I was thrilled to host the live streams of the Miami competition this past January, and am excited to continue my collaboration with the Chopin Foundation through to the International Chopin Competition held in Warsaw this fall. The honorary chairman of the U.S. Chopin Foundation is none other than Garrick Ohlsson, who will be with us every step of the way during this podcast series. To this day, Garrick is the only pianist from the United States ever to win first prize at the International Chopin Competition. And in October 2025, he will become the first ever non-Pole to chair the competition in Warsaw. Garrick is one of the few pianists ever to record Chopin's complete works, published by the Hyperion label. Many of the recordings heard during this series are taken from that set. Digital downloads of the complete cycle are available for purchase on Hyperion's website. It was again my great fortune to meet Garrick in his home to record our conversation for this episode, and we began by spending time with each of Chopin's 4 delinquent kids housed inside his second sonata.
There is a wildness in this music. Certainly the finale is completely bizarre and almost not understandable at that time, I think. But on the other hand, they make an incredible integrated work of music, which in 20 minutes does a great deal.
Well, shall we work backwards then a little bit?
Yeah.
And start with the end? What is going on in this? It's 80 seconds long or something? I mean,
I don't
it
know.
just flies by.
And it drove people crazy, you know. Of course, we can drag out those tired old quotes about, it is the wind over the graves after the funeral ceremony. Or didn't Chopin himself get sick of descriptions of it and say, it's just two hands gossiping? I really can't play without practicing, but it doesn't have a tune. It has some harmony. Sort of horror house, harmonies. It's an amazing little sound world. And
it's the answer to anyone who claims that music is always either song or dance. Well, or it's whatever this is. Well, which is neither.
No, sometimes some people include speaking in that as a
Sure.
trio. Music either sings, dances, or speaks.
But I don't know if this is any of those three.
Sound effects. And of course, there are various ways of playing it. I mean, I could play it dry. Or wet. Or you can try to bring out some of the voices. But no matter what you do, it's going to be kind of your choice, because he gives you no help at all except fortissimo in the last bar and one hairpin up in bar 13 and 14. That's it.
Yeah, if somebody just walked in here and heard you playing that, I mean, they wouldn't know. They would have no idea what happened.
No, and there are some patterns. I mean, you have to get to know them as you get to know the piece. I did learn the piece very well, and I've played it a lot in my life, so I've practiced this so much, it's in my hard drive. I mean, although it doesn't sound like that today, but it's hard to play.
Were you ever instructed to practice it hands crossed?
Nobody ever said that, no, but I've heard of that as a possible method.
Well, it is a unison. You don't see a lot of unison anything in Chopin. That's the other striking thing about it.
Right.
It's just constant unison. I mean, I think there's a creepiness about the beginning of the third Scherzo. There's unisons there.
That's right.
It's like if those first 4 notes of the Scherzo just continued for 80 seconds. It's got that. It's got that similar kind of directionless atonal quality.
Yeah.
This kind of music wasn't totally unprecedented for Chopin. Some people have compared the E-flat minor prelude to this. Could you show us
which is almost the same in terms of a unison, relatively low in the piano. It's one of the many sonic ideas that filled his brain somehow. I mean, of which he had so many.
I'm reminded of some polonaises we've heard.
The abrupt end.
It's not unlike the end of the F sharp minor polonaise, and just it's
not at all.
Kind of comes to an end, and then there's the final a period or exclamation point.
Exactly.
If we rewind, it'll help us make sense of it more. So we haven't fully understood the last movement, and we may never. But we can get a grip on the funeral march movement, which the whole sonata is named after. That's the third movement. Take us through this. It's probably Chopin's most popular piece. I still hear
probably his most famous
cartoons and movies. You still hear this theme everywhere.
Absolutely. And when there was a Soviet Union and Stalin died, the band played. When I was growing up, kids would laugh at this theme because it was always used in cartoons.
Yes.
When some absurd, cartoon character leapt off a cliff by accident and went smack, then the music would be like bum bum ba-dum, bum ba-dum, ba-dum.
But then it continues. That's the thing, is it's usually just that little excerpt. Could you actually play the theme?
The middle section seems to explain the march better,
How do you sort of feel about it?
I'm a little bit caught because of two teachers I've had, and then somebody else who, a composer who said something else to me, which made me think differently about it. One said that you must be very neutral and impersonal about it. And the other one said, no, it needs direction, so that, for example, the 4-bar phrase here, a bit of rubato, so it doesn't sound like a series of... And yet, the composer that I mentioned, who's a late friend of mine, said, it should be as cold as ice. It's like a mausoleum. He said, it sounds like a sentimental Chopin tune, but it's absolutely it's as cold as ice.
I'm a little bit on that side of things, but
I am a little bit too. No. And in the B section, when it goes, here, there it gets a bit more personal. That is maybe the heart beating a little faster. Of course, there was also a tradition that this was where weepy people would weep because of this, the tenderness, the tragedy of funerals, marches, and death, and all the handkerchiefs would come out then. I don't know. I don't think it's a sentimental piece, though.
No, it doesn't feel that way, but one could imagine someone just seeing it as a scene where you pan over to those observing the funeral and they're wiping the tear.
And you can imagine the pianist.
It's the tear falling down their face, yeah. I think this happens a lot. There is a sense that... I think
I'll make myself sick.
It's harder, but one should try to be really still there, physically.
I think so,
too,
yeah.
I think, yeah.
Many people by now know the famous Rachmaninoff recording of the B-flat minor sonata, which is amazing, incredible, masterful, great. But he does something which is blatantly not in the score, in the funeral march. Instead of following Chopin's dynamic indications, he makes the whole first half a huge crescendo. And then dramatically in the middle, just cuts it down to nothing. And then, when the middle is over, and then the funeral cortege recedes. And we've learned through Charles Rosen that this was something that Anton Rubinstein did, the father and the fountainhead of great Russian pianism. That was something he did, and Rosen quotes his teacher Rosenthal, quoting Liszt, saying that this was obviously the dramatic high point and a sensational conception, and Liszt himself saying at this point in his life he no longer likes to impose an extra musical conception on what a composer writes, but who knows what young Liszt would have done. Maybe he's sorry he didn't think of it himself.
It's the closest Liszt came to hearing Rachmaninoff, in a way.
Exactly.
He was actually hearing the seeds of Rachmaninoff's interpretation.
Exactly, and hearing his greatest rival at the time.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, that brings up how much can we impose on Chopin or any music, indeed, an extra musical program because it's effective or because it's our idea or we like it or our teacher told us to do it or tradition has said you do this. I don't know.
When you choose something that deliberately against a score, if it has a real compositional purpose and you can sell it, I think you've earned it. You can do it.
I would say Rachmaninoff is extremely convincing, and if I could do it like that, I might.
That's right.
If I can believe it internally the same way.
The second movement of the sonata is kind of a demonic waltz, maybe even a Mephisto waltz of types. I've heard it described.
Waltz, or even...
Yep.
And some people, knowing lots, have said maybe it's one of the mazurkas because of the accent on the third beat.
Oh, that's interesting.
It doesn't sound very mazurka-y to me.
Doesn't sound all that Chopin-y. It's like he took different types of Chopin's music, mazurkas and polonaises and other things and waltzes, and smashed them into one piece together.
Yeah, this is also not typically Chopin-esque. What we think of Chopin as being relatively slender and fluid most of the time.
This is big, meaty, heavy.
This is massive Brahmsian stuff. You know, look at these. It's on the demonic side. And we have other things which he doesn't do lots, like the climbing fourths from the A-flat Polonaise. All these octaves and leaps. This sounds waltzy. But it's...
jumpy, and then how often in Chopin are you going bum 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 dee da da da?
Oh yeah, what I call the Brahms ending.
Yeah.
It's just 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1.
100% Brahms cadence
100%.
right there. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's really hard to play. I mean, jumps in both hands, jumping to chords in between, and you've got nowhere where you're safe because you're moving in opposite directions in both ways. Jumps are always much safer if one hand is safe. I mean, they're still hard, but if you're at least grounded somewhere, but here you're not grounded anywhere. One conductor friend of mine who I was playing this for said, the trouble with this whole beautiful section is that all the themes have the same outline, except for where it goes, that's different, but it's... So he suggested you could do rubatos at different spots and different things. And, in other words, once you've developed a nice rubato... Lovely. I'll try something else. That's a particularly beautiful spot where you can do your tonal magic.
He brings this back at the end. So, I mean, after the...
He does. That's a dramatic stroke of genius because he does the Brahms thing again. And he slows down. As if we're going to get all this. But he ends it. So it's a kind of a farewell. And he lets it die out masterfully.
And it always felt like the first and second movements went back to back. They really sort of...
They connect.
function as a pair as well.
Well, especially key-wise and even...
Yeah, I mean, emphasizing the E-flat minor at the end. The first movement is so compact, but so much information in one piece. Look, he's not known for writing sonatas. He probably had well, he didn't have the same complex that other Romantic composers had about the sonata and sonata forms, but clearly he thought a lot about it, and you couldn't not be influenced by Beethoven,
Of course.
when it came to this. So you're not, even though he might have favored Mozart aesthetically, you're not seeing a kind of amped up, romanticized Mozart conception of a sonata here. You are, I think, seeing a Beethoven approach to sonata writing.
I would say so too.
Even for Chopin here. And some have even pointed out that the beginning of the B-flat minor sonata, yet again, on some level, is reminiscent of Opus 111's opening. Just
Yeah, I remember over the years I've acquired basically 3 ways of playing this intro.
Mhm.
One is sort of what Gorodisky taught me, which is probably related to the Russian tradition generally. You are
that feels familiar to me.
And another one is to play it straight, which somebody suggests, which is very interesting. In other words,
That's good.
It's a concept. And I had a third one once. I forgot what. I don't know what I do.
I would combine those two.
Irma Volpe always would say, "How about a diminuendo on the first note?" So,
And then it grows.
that's a shock. Everybody's got different ideas.
I like imagining that you could play it the Russian way,
Yeah.
but actually be in time the second way. Like,
Yeah.
it's still very dramatic,
Yeah.
but actually, boom.
And of course, the Chopin has this famous long, muddy pedals
Yes.
with the theme.
Can you do me a favor?
Sure.
Right before the cadence. Da, 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 da. Can you show me that inner voice a little more?
That's a bit like in the A-flat Polonies. We're just going to
Right, we're just suddenly right in the middle of your chord, the finger has to be made of steel.
That's what the line is.
It is, yeah. He takes us to church.
But he lets it fly later,
Yeah.
though. Then it gets more Italian opera.
We're on the water. It's a little bit barcarolle.
Now that's
So satisfying.
That's very operatic.
Yes.
I mean, I think Puccini would have liked that had he written it. So he inserts his opera in there.
Well, it's always opera followed by an etude, it seems like.
Oh, yeah, yep. That's true. I never thought of that. Yeah.
This is technically challenging, especially when it goes yoda bada 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 papa. It's something about going in opposite directions at the same time.
Yeah. Oh my God. I didn't even do it right.
I can't tell you how many times I've practiced that moment.
Yeah, and actually, that's reminding me. It's a Brahms moment. Yeah. Then there's a question which people often ask me is, should you take the repeat? And if you do, where do you repeat?
Yes.
Some people think you should go all the way back to, which is what I think Rudolf Serkin used to do in the Pathétique.
Yeah.
Because most people go there.
Yeah.
I don't know how to resolve it. I don't know. I'm not enough of a scholar.
So the argument for this one, at least, that I've heard is,
Yes, you should go back to the beginning. And the musical reason is that's not an intro. That's the beginning of the main thematic material that is then so importantly developed in the development. I mean, it is the development.
Yes. Anyway. Here we have... But then we immediately have...
Which is...
And then they get mixed up again. It's quite simple, actually.
Very menacing.
This becomes a theme that we haven't really heard before, and but somehow it comes
Someone's
out
related
this,
to
but it comes, it's the end of that, right, as a theme. So it's set up. But then we get the opening theme in the left hand. So he's two people at once here. This is the place that the bombs drop, but he's ingeniously given you the introduction in the bass with a triplet figure in the left hand to fill in, and in the right hand you have, which is sheer genius. This really does evoke all those Slavonic bells, doesn't it?
Yeah. I have captured a momentous memory slip of mine playing this piece 15 years ago. There's a video of it on the internet, and I like to bring it up as a way of letting everyone know. I know that I had a memory mistake, but it relates to the form of this piece because Chopin, although not known for writing sonatas, did innovate an element of sonata form, and all of his, well, this is second and third sonatas, and then the cello sonatas seem to all have this property of not recapitulating the main thematic material, but kind of jumping straight into the second theme. And this does that in part because the opening material is so heavily used in the development.
Yes.
and it's right in this part where after we've returned to in that second theme, I throw my hands, I think, at the first time, and I immediately realize tonally I'm off, and you just see me kind of slap keys for a while, and then I find my way back to it. It's something about Chopin's music. You're not used to repeated material in the key of the recapitulation, because usually when he transposed in a recapitulation section or a repeated section, it's easy to remember, not easy to memorize, but it's distinctive.
You're listening to a performance of Chopin's Second Sonata from the semifinal round of the 11th National Chopin Competition given by Victoria Wong, one of 4 U.S. competitors who will be competing in Warsaw this fall. The Miami competition was a huge hit, attracting over 300,000 YouTube views during the week-long event and selling out the final round concerts. It was my privilege to host the live streams on behalf of the Chopin Foundation and interview the many talented competitors. Congratulations to all of the prize winners, and especially to gold medalist William Yang and silver medalist Anthony Ratanov, both of whom earned automatic admission to the live rounds of the International Chopin Competition this October. William Yang also received the prize for Best Sonata for his performance of the Third, which you're hearing a part of now. To relive all the competitors' performances from Miami, as well as fun conversations I had with them there, make sure you're subscribed to the Chopin Foundation YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this video, consider joining my Patreon, where paying members have access to extended bonus scenes from my interview with Garrick Ohlsson, as well as an extra interview with 2015 Warsaw Prize winner Eric Liu.